Yandangshan is a national forest park, national geopark, and UNESCO Global Geopark, located in China's Zhejiang province. We reside and work on Linkun Island, a triangular island with one side facing the East China Sea and two sides facing the north and the south riverbanks of the River in Wenzhou. The last 4 subway stations are currently on this island, serving almost nothing. Why all the stations with so much nothing around us? Future-proofing. Our apartment structure, along with more than half of the island, is built on land where, a few years ago, there was still open sea. A mixture of industrial factories of all sizes and purposes are erected at breakneck speed, roads constructed and sea space claimed. As exciting as this all sounds, practically for people like us, it means isolation. Not only are we separated from our own people back home because of the current global crisis, but we're separated from the rest of everything nearby. Starbucks and the nearest worthwhile supermarket are a 40-minute subway ride away. There are stores on the island, but the fresh produce is not that fresh, and the selection is severely limited. The original older Lincoln town is found in the northwestern corner, where roads and houses were still built a lot more organically. Though this is evident when studying maps of the island, it is hard to notice on the ground. New tarred lanes bordered with new tree lanes crisscross even into the older sections of town, where city-wide constant construction has also seeped in. Demographically, the population of the island is older. I assume that most of the younger people would relocate to the city for malls and coffee. The town is built in a more traditional manner, checkered lines of squished houses around square kilometer blocks of farmland, where anything from bok choy to beans are being produced by the old residents themselves. 2 or 3 of these roads have been repurposed as a CBD, where a number of small familiar Chinese storefronts serve as small businesses and traditional eateries. Though we really like Chinese food, our palates are used to a broader spectrum of cuisine, so we don't often venture into the older part of the island these days. It's too cumbersome to get there without a car or a scooter, and we haven't used either in months. Living on the island without a car has another drawback. When embarking on a bike trip, if we want to see anything else than construction sites or photogenic old people on bicycles, there are but 2 means of leaving the island. The first is a 3-kilometer bridge directly south into another industrial park, and the other is a ferry ride north to the small town of Yexing. The closest point of real interest is 30 kilometers away, Lucheng or Ohai, where the city is bustling with the life of which I wish we had in Cape Town. A corridor garden park runs on the southern banks, where a number of local residents can always be seen walking their pets or playing their trumpets. Always someone, because here we don't have to fear for our safety. Living here has its drawbacks, but China has been the break we needed to build a viable life for ourselves, which after years of trying back home simply didn't work out. The island drives us crazy, therefore, for sanity's sake, we escape as much as possible, often with my parents, who live about 500 kilometers away. K. Drinking K.
Yeah. K coffee.
K is coffee. 45 minutes on the subway through most of Wenzhou city, and half an hour speed train north out of the city brings us to Yandangshan, which is what this video is about. We book into our guest house situated close to Dalua waterfall, one of the prominent scenic spots. Very little external Western influences infiltrated the lifestyles here. The biggest threat to the older ways here being domestic tourism. Raging cliffs protrude from the surrounding hills, mostly rhyolite formations, creating impressive rock textures that China is famous for. After a quick unhealthy snack, we embark on our first outing. Linkun Temple. Free buses run a circle route through the Geopark, so getting from location to location is fairly simple. All over China, poetic, spiritual messages can be found in stone or on signs, discussing freedom of the soul or guides to everyday life.
Never visit the park barehandedly, as well as other in-civilization activities such as rest on chair or stool.
Signs like these are found everywhere in the Yandangshan parks.
No litter, no spit, no urinate, and no defecate all over the park.
Linkun Temple is 1,100 years old. It has been destroyed and rebuilt a number of times throughout the centuries, the last restoration being 1998.
Illegal activities in the park, such as superstitious activity, are prohibited.
Linkun Temple is surrounded by cliffs. A number of staircases rise from the bamboo forest floor up to some smaller areas totally secluded from the outside life. We just assume that certain scientific concepts have always been a part of the human psyche, but even something as simple as soil erosion was once an epiphany to someone. The spire in the middle of the frame was once noticed by a man thousands of years ago. The shape and position of this rock made him realize that the soil erosion is a thing. Many more of these spires aspire to inspire the same ideals.
Hy's donker binnekant, so ek weet nie wat.
Dit lyk mooi daai skeur.
Ja, is diep in die skure.
Is dit net die teerpad? Kom die skool. Ja, dan gee hulle vir die kinders springtoue en dan op die teerpad. Al om en om en om. Daai is shrimp met
Liewe aarde, dit is shrimpies.
ja. En hierdie is so 'n ingelede ietsie.
The man of the guest house has an extensive collection of traditional Chinese teas. He invited my dad and I for a good spot of tea. First, he soaks and rinses the tea leaves.
Dis snaaks, ek het nog kyk die houtlepel nie.
His teas mostly come from the Yandangshan valleys, so this was a truly authentic tea experience. We didn't have means of communication, but I assumed that the first batch was a variety of red tea. It detoxes the lungs after a good cigarette. The leaves harbor a great amount of flavor, so the idea is to top up the tea any number of times until the water runs clear. As a coffee drinker myself, I found my mind clear, awake, without the strain of stress that usually accompanies a coffee high. Our next stop was Dalua Waterfall. I think it's Big Dragon Waterfall. Because it's the dry season, the waterfall was really no more than just a thin misty spray. We passed a cliff of 1,000 Buddhas. I guess if this was in South Africa, it had been the cliffs of 1,000 Zulus. We see what we're accustomed to and what we want to see. Rows of tea bushes can be found on any flat surface here. Rhyolite is the most silica-rich of the volcanic rocks. It is generally glossy or fine-grained in texture, but may be porphyritic, containing larger mineral crystals in an otherwise fine-grained rock. The mineral assemblage is predominantly quartz and sanidine. It is the extrusive equivalent to granite. itinerary, Linkun Scenic Spot. One of the websites I read on this spot suggests that this is where domestic tourism hit the environment the hardest. A number of temples have been built in this valley, creating serene and wonderful scenes. The shapes of the rocks have names, like Two Bamboo Shoots Tower, Rhino Peak, Flying Girl. But again, it really depends on how you look at things. Rhino Peak looks like an elephant to me.
This is the location of an old Buddhist temple built 600 years ago during the Yuan dynasty, but had been totally destroyed by a landslide. As a result, caves and tunnels were formed by stacking of collapsed rocks. There is a total of 7 caves with different shapes, connecting with each other in a winding manner. It is also called the Howling Park.
Devil's Peak, Table Mountain, Lion's Head.
Point of view is important. Truth is truth, but how we choose to align ourselves, also where we come from, can change one's perspective and one's understanding of anything. A cockerel on a rock, a middle finger, a Table Mountain, a cityscape. How we choose to align ourselves is really up to us. I have the fortunate disposition of coming from a stable household. I choose to see the world as a beautiful place, lighter than darker, more beautiful than ugly. To maintain this outlook on life in these uncertain times, though traveling is super complicated and we found on many occasions people, even officials, addressing us with distrust. How long have you been in the country? Have we been tested? Though there's been no case in our area in a long time. We try to get out despite this. It helps with the sanity of the soul. I wish we could share our experiences firsthand with our family and friends back home. But until we can, May these little videos serve as a window into this side of the planet.